The truth about bacon. You've been told that bacon is unhealthy, but is it really? Let's inspect the nutrition of bacon, and also the topic of nitrates and nitrites, HCAs, and more. As you'll see, in some cases, not all, pork fat can even be considered healthy, by Mike Geary, certified nutrition specialist and guest author, Nick Pino, aka The Nutrition Nerd. Most people think that their favorite fatty foods, like bacon, should only be an occasional treat because they've been told that it will clog up your arteries and kill you because of the saturated fat. But as you know from reading this newsletter, the scientific community has pretty much fully agreed in recent years that saturated fat is actually not bad for you at all, and is really just a natural part of the human diet, just like it has been since the origins of us Homo sapiens. In reality, scientists have begun to collectively agree in recent years that highly processed polyunsaturated fats from vegetable oils like corn and soy are the real killers, along with too much sugar and starch, both of which also cause arterial stress if blood sugar levels are too high, too frequently. However, what most people don't realize is that pork fat, aka lard, is actually only 40% saturated, 48% monosaturated, and 12% polyunsaturated, varies based on what the pigs ate, while coconut oil is 92% saturated fat, and we all know that coconut oil is super healthy for dozens of reasons for our bodies. This isn't to say that bacon fat is always bad or good per se, it really all depends on what the pigs were fed and how they were raised. Confinement factory-raised pigs that never saw the light of day and ate nothing but GMO soy and corn-based feed will have a more unhealthy fat profile than free-range pork that grazed outdoors, got a lot of sunshine, which increases the vitamin D content of the pork fat, and ate a wide variety of natural foods. In fact, free-range, or pasture-raised, pork fat can even be a really good source of vitamin D if the pigs really did see a good amount of outdoors time and sunshine. And we all know how vitally important vitamin D is for our immune systems and overall hormonal balance. Unfortunately, the vast majority of pork and bacon sold these days is from confinement factory conditions where the pigs get very little sunshine, if any at all. Yes, our grandparents and great-grandparents in the early to mid-1900s were eating pretty much 100% pasture-raised bacon back in the day, but the factory farm industry in recent decades has ruined a good portion of the quality of our foods. So make sure to look for pasture-raised or free-range pork if you decide to eat bacon or other forms of pork. At the very least, look for organic bacon if you can't find pasture-raised, because at least you know they didn't eat GMO feed in that case. But what about nitrates and nitrites? Aside from the fat content of bacon, which we just discussed can actually be healthy if you choose the right form of bacon, the biggest reason people think they need to avoid bacon is that they've been told that nitrites and nitrates can be really bad for you. But is that really the truth? Well, it can be a complicated subject, so I'll let my fellow colleague, the nutrition nerd, Nikki P, simplify it for you. Are nitrates and nitrites really dangerous? Do we really need to fear bacon? First of all, nitrites and nitrates are not exactly the same, but I'll use them interchangeably for simplicity's sake in this video. Well, the consumers fear it so much that companies have started selling nitrite-free products in grocery stores. After all, even the Mayo Clinic says that sodium nitrite could possibly increase your risks of heart disease. But is the fear of nitrites overblown? Should you fear your saliva? Avoiding all sources of nitrites and nitrates would involve you having the driest mouth in the history of mankind. You see, as Chris Kresser puts it, nitrites are produced by your own body in greater amounts than can be obtained from food, and salivary nitrite accounts for 70 to 90% of our total nitrite exposure. In other words, your spit contains far more nitrites than anything you could ever eat. Quote, "And when it comes to food, I've got bad news for you. Veggies contain way more naturally occurring nitrites than processed meats like bacon. In fact, one serving of arugula contains more nitrites than 467 hot dogs." Sorry if that made you spit out your arugula, goat cheese and walnut salad in shock. Nitrite-free is misleading. If you're paying more for nitrite-free meats, you're getting misled. Instead of being cured with sodium nitrite, these meats are cured with celery salt. And guess what? Celery salt gets transformed into nitrites during the curing process. In plain English, the nitrite-free meats probably contain way more nitrites than the regular version. Not that it matters, because like I said, nitrites are not very dangerous to begin with. All in all, I don't think there's much difference to your health whether you get the bacon containing nitrites versus the celery salt bacon, since they both yield nitrites to your body. Breaking news: nitrites and nitrates are not a threat, the fear of nitrites and nitrates is overblown. There are a ton of other things you should worry about more when it comes to food, like GMOs, trans fats, and high fructose corn syrup. On the science side, there's a ton of research showing that nitrites and nitrates do not accumulate inside the body, and are quickly flushed in the urine. 25% of the nitrates we consume is converted into salivary nitrite, 20% converted into nitrite, and the rest is excreted in the urine within 5 hours of ingestion. Any nitrate that is absorbed has a very short half-life, disappearing from our blood in under 5 minutes. Some nitrite in our stomach reacts with gastric contents, forming nitric oxide, which may have many beneficial effects. What about nitrosamines? The fear of nitrites and nitrates comes from the fact that some of them can transform into nitrosamines while cooking. Nitrosamines are potentially carcinogenic, so that's definitely a legit concern. But that's exactly why manufacturers use vitamin C, ascorbic acid, when curing their meats. It turns out that vitamin C or even vitamin E offers a protective antioxidant effect on the meat, and prevents the formation of nitrosamines. On top of that, my recommendation of sticking to pasture-raised pork as much as possible still stands, for many reasons. One of them being the fact that grain-fed, commercially raised pork has been shown to create way more nitrosamines when cooked than its pasture-raised cousin. The reason is simple in my mind: lard from pasture-raised animals that eat a highly variable diet outdoors contains a healthier fat profile than the fat from grain-fed confinement animals. Conclusion: there are a ton of things you should worry about when it comes to food, but nitrites are simply not one of them. That being said, try to eat traditionally cured, pastured-raised meats from local farms as much as possible. They are much healthier, and a lot safer. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the World Health Network.